All right, so why don't we, as some people and more people are coming in, why don't we get started and talk about this? And thank you for taking the half an hour to be with me today. I hope you get some value out of it. Uh, the goal was to talk about low code. If you've heard of this, if you've seen this around, what is it, and what can we do to take advantage of it? So, from an agenda, just for this half an hour, we'll talk about the history of low code. Right? We'll talk about why, for that matter, and we'll brunch back to see what does krys bring to the JDE community with regard to low code, and talk about any next steps, the call to actions that you guys can take, and we'll have some time for questions at the end. So let's get started. I don't know if you have seen this slide. It was from a user group not that long ago, right? JD Edwards digital platform, digital transformation. This piece here, right? Once mobile apps started to become discontinued through Oracle, even JD Edwards said, find a partner, find a low code, a no code partner to work with Orchestrator to build the apps that you need going forward. And it was not only that, it was this part too, the getting to vanilla part, right? Getting that part of your system that is perhaps customized to the point of disrepair, customized to the point where you can't upgrade anymore. Trying to get that out of your system, pulling that out of your system so you can get to vanilla and you can do the things you want to do. And low code can come into both of those scenarios, the scenario of finding a partner to help you build the mobile apps that you need, as well as finding a partner to help you get to vanilla. So let's talk further about all of those pieces. So that's where the genesis of this whole presentation began, is of me seeing these slides. And I thought, I've been in this business in selling low code for a while, just to lend a little bit of my own expertise on it. So from a historical perspective, and depending on when you started with JD Edwards, right, you could have been a part of one of these. So it was introduced, low code unto itself, as an acronym called case, the case tools, right, in the 1980s. And this is how long this has been around in that regard. And over time, technology changes. Mainly it's acronyms that change, and the case acronym became RAD. And some people still talk about RAD today, but the RAD tooling became from the early 1990s. And then in the late 90s, early 2000s, it changed from RAD to 4GL, to fourth generation language. Whereas things like RPG, COBOL, and HTML were 3GLs, the 4GL was the low code world. All the way up until the mid 2010s, more and more companies were moving into RAD. And there was a Forrester researcher named John Reimer who decided to create his own term and coin his own term for these companies that were starting to make application development easier, or starting to make application development more accessible to people. And he coined the term low code. And from there, a ton of companies have sucked into this vacuum of we're a low code tool. But it has been around for quite some time. Now, there might be people, depending on your age, like I said, or your initial introduction to JD Edwards, who can say something along the lines of, well, I put a RAD tool on a B50 with a CPW rating of 31, and it brought down the whole system. And that could be right. In 1987, that was probably the case at the time. But things have changed, and so if you have that memory, it's good to erase it. It's good to come up with just some fresh thoughts with regard to this, because it's only getting bigger, because the problem's only getting larger as well. So let's talk about then and now. Like, what is the difference between if you were around for the case tools and today? So there's two parts. Not much has changed, but a lot has changed at the exact same time. So let's talk about that. Just put this down in two separate aspect windows of this slide, not much has changed and a lot has changed. Not much. The part that's not much is we're still trying to solve the same problem. Low code platforms are still trying to help companies develop applications faster. That's what they're trying to do, and that's what they've been trying to do, for the last 35 years. But what the a lot part is what low code brings in today, and what low code brings that rad tools and case tools didn't have before. Most of them are all cloud-based, so you're not procuring hardware for them. Most of them have DevOps already built in, so you're not having to worry about having your 3 environments, deploying these applications in between, promoting, testing, production monitoring. All of that stuff comes alongside the platform itself. Mobile support, web services, it can do far more than before. I knew companies that had a rad tool for COBOL, right? That world has since changed. Low code manages a lot, and there is a lot less code to maintain. Most of these companies don't generate any code at all that you have to touch, but still give you open access points to put your own things in if you see fit. So from a thesis perspective, not much has changed at all. But what the platforms deliver today that they didn't in the last 20 years has changed pretty dramatically. And how you can get started has changed really dramatically. So let's keep moving on. And the next question we hear a lot, I'm not a software company. Why do I need to write custom systems? And I've been to a lot of sessions in the last 2 days, and a lot of people are writing custom systems. So I don't know if I need to answer this question, but here's a quote from Gartner that answered it as well as I could. And so all of us here running JD Edwards, all have a widely available commercial ERP system. So writing these applications, let's take as an aside, digital transformation or mobile application or bringing the back office to the front office is much larger initiatives. But just having custom systems around to be able to compete, to be able to take orders in different ways, to be able to do business better than your competition, that is the way. And that is the reasoning behind developing these applications. How can I serve my customers better? How can I serve my suppliers and vendors better? How can I make it easier for my internal users to use the system? So how can I simplify that? Right? How can I make business so easy to use? Or how can I make it so easy for us to do business with you that we can build a moat around our competition? So there's the reason to build custom applications, but here is the problem with it. This is again from Gartner. There are just more ideas than there are people to deliver and actuate on those ideas. Nothing has changed. It's just difficult. So they talk about demand through 2022. It's 5 times fast. It's probably not. It's probably more than that. You guys probably get more ideas than you know what to do with on a regular basis from your user community, from your vendors, suppliers, from the magazines you read, from listening to customers talk. I bet you have 10 ideas from the sessions you've been to in the last 2 days. But when we talk about from a capacity to deliver, so here's this IT supply. So IT does what it can. It's hard to spin up new apps. So let's go to the cloud, right? I need better control. We are a publicly traded, audited company. I have Sarbanes-Oxley issues. Let's get DevOps in so we can trap all the controls. And we know who's making changes to custom systems because that is critically important. But I can't respond fast enough. So now we'll move to Agile, a new methodology. That's still not enough. So we hire some developers and then we outsource some more, but there's still a huge gap. So you're either saying no to your users, which brings up a whole nother issue of shadow IT and lack of trust, or you're working everyone to death. It's difficult to do either, right? It's hard to say no. It's hard to make your team work harder than they already can. I'm sure they're working hard. So there is this piece. And then it's not getting better, right? There's more apps that exist today, and there's more platforms that exist today than ever before. There's more data, and there's more frameworks. There's more technology that exists, and there's more change going on than ever before. So I get all of these ideas, and then I have to pick out what's the database, what kind of app is it, what frameworks am I using, how am I securing this, how am I making sure it gets through the promotion process correctly. It becomes untenable. One other number I'll give to you today, and this is a common thread. I've had this slide since before the pandemic, but it's still true. There's 50,000 IT jobs that aren't going to get filled in the next 6 months. IT has negative unemployment right now. So there are more ideas than ever before. There is more technology than ever before, and there is hardly anyone here to do it. So we've reached that inflection point. What can we do to make this better? Right? We can't throw more bodies at it. We can't throw more money. We've already gone to the cloud. We're already using serverless. We're already using this. What can we do next? And that next piece is looking at a low-code vendor, looking at a company that can help you get applications out the door faster. So I want to talk about a few myths, especially for people who maybe have been once bitten, twice shied in this space before. First being low code is fine, but it's not for mission critical applications. That is 100% untrue. You should have, if you're looking for low code vendors, they should be running mission critical applications. We have loads of our own customers who run applications that run businesses. Now, they still have JD Edwards as their system of record and their financials and manufacturing, depending on what segment they're in, other critical pieces. But the applications we've built for them are absolutely critical, and they're absolutely running. The second myth being low code has serious limitations. It depends on who you're talking to. So you have to look out and archetype what are the projects that you have, not for the next 6 months, but the next 4 or 5 years, and try and find a partner, a low code partner who's going to be able to tailor their solution to your needs, who's going to be able to grow with you. There are loads out there. Gartner currently tracks over 80 of them. We are one, and I'll talk about us in a little bit, but we're not the only ones. So from a limitation perspective, yes, there are some companies who only do queries with low code. And some companies that have serious database limitations with low code. And some companies that really only do BPM, they don't do application development. And some companies who have not the greatest workflow solution, but they call themselves low code. So you have to, evaluate what you're looking for. Do I need forms and workflow? Do I need composable applications? Do I need mobile first, mobile only? Think about the projects that you have upcoming. Think about where you see the world going and go to partner with them. Gartner even said, and Forrester has agreed that many companies will be running more than one low code platform in the next 3 years as time marches on. And the last piece is low code locks me in and limits flexibility. And it is just not the case at all. The vast majority of them have input and output where you can write your own custom code. And if you can't, many of them will work with you. If I said that too quickly, many of them will work with you to give you what you need from a custom perspective. So low code can be for mission critical applications. And I've been in this business for 25 years. I've seen companies run their entire enterprise on low code without fail. And when you look at a company who's rewritten powder coating applications into low code, if you can do that, there's very little you can't do. I've seen financials written in low code, distribution, manufacturing, all of it can be done. And from a lock-in perspective, most of the vendors today are using open architectures that allow you to put in your own code when you want and to call the code when you need to. So I just don't believe any of this is true. Doesn't mean you shouldn't look into it, but I see, and from my perspective, in 25 years of being in this space, it's just not there. So why? You know, we've kind of brought out this whole piece, but why do I see it, right? Velocity, by far, right? 50% of IT departments average one release or less a quarter. I don't know what you guys do. I'm not going to ask. We don't have polling in here. I've met with companies who do one a year. I've met with companies who do one a month. When we talk about velocity and agile and being able to keep up, right? Whether you do or whether you don't like Amazon is not germane to this part of the conversation. But if you want to know what a world-class e-commerce company is doing from a release perspective, this is what Amazon does. Every 11 seconds, they're putting a release, they're doing a push into production. So if you're in there, well, we do it once a week. Well, Amazon does 6 a minute, 5 a minute. So that's the agility we're talking about. So you have all these great ideas, right, coming in from your organization, coming in from people who have good ideas, who you do think these are legitimate, and you as the IT department have to say, well, we can only do one. Choose the one you want us to do, right? That can be frustrating. So can I take the staff I have right now that would take maybe 3 months to do a project, retool them, and get it done in 1 week, as opposed to 3 weeks, 3 months, or longer? And I can say choose 4. I can say choose 5 or 6. You probably never get to every 11 seconds. That is a Herculean effort. But if you could get to one a week from one a month, right, it's 20 more ideas a year in production than you had before. You do twice as many. It's twice as many you can go forward with. So speed is critically important. Why low code? Also democracy. And what I say when I say that is, when you develop new applications, you develop custom applications, there are 2 main parts to this. There's integrating to the back end, and there's designing the front end. Now, before Orchestrator, a lot of this was a big deal, but here's our front end developer who's really good at designing the front, and here's our back end developer, and where we are is these guys aren't talking in the middle. Now, Orchestrator has given this back-end development, this capability is improved so greatly. We did, as a proof of concept last week, a mobile order entry app, and we used Orchestrator. It took us about an hour to build the orchestration. It took us about 20 minutes to build the mobile form. So in less than 2 hours, we had order entry working against JD Edwards. It was pulling a real JD Edwards number and displaying it on a mobile device when the order was placed. I can't imagine what that was like before Orchestrator. I'm sure it was a lot longer. But what low code does is it makes the front end development as easy as Orchestrator. It makes it as easy as the back end development. If you can follow model-based workflows, which is how a lot of low code platforms are developed, just like how Orchestrator works, all of the backend people can design front ends and vice versa. So I've taken a team, some people only know JD Edwards in the table, some people only know the web, and I've created one group of people who can do both. And that means from a maintenance perspective, right, you're covered in every instance. Because it only takes, let's say, 3 weeks to build an application, but you might own that application for 3 years. And you got to maintain it. So you need to have as many people who maintain it as possible. And one last piece, right? From a democracy perspective, it is a single skill for both the front and the back end. What does that mean from an IT perspective? It means collaboration can improve because we're not fighting with each other, right? It means maintenance is far easier. That means everyone in your IT department can be a low-code developer. And if you can get velocity on top of that, you can have your user community say, I want this, and 2 days later they have it. When they start seeing throughput like that, you're going to start hearing ideas from them more and more often. You're going to get a seat at the table when they're talking about projects for next year and the year after, because you're developing and delivering faster than they ever thought possible. So really look into it. So from a summary perspective, is before we can kind of wander in what krys systems does. What have we been here for, right? Low code has been around 30 plus years. It's not going away, right? It's here to support that velocity. It's here to make it easier to do development. And there is a huge difference between case and low code. So don't think otherwise. We're here to make development faster and safer than it's ever been before. And without the things that we use today, that we leverage today, like the cloud, like DevOps, all of those pieces, it wouldn't be the confluence of all the events that are possible now. But now I have a rapid way to design and develop and deliver applications that doesn't involve procuring any hardware, that gives me all the security and role-based management of DevOps, that supports identity management and two-factor authentication. And it's all in a single package. And that's the value proposition that low code is offering that case never could. So I have a couple more minutes left. So what does krys systems, if you've never heard of us before, what do we offer JD Edwards shops? So if you're running JD Edwards, we are cloud-based as well. So let's talk about a couple of things that we can help do, right? We are a no-code development platform. We do web, mobile, native, composable, batch jobs, all of this without writing code. If you're a BA or a CNC, you can learn our software in less than a week. It can do a ton of things. You might know our history as e-commerce and payments. Now we're doing work order applications. We're doing PO approvals. We're doing everything else alongside JD Edwards. And I'll talk about some of our POCs that we've done in the last quarter. But it's all without writing code, right? How do we integrate? And we talked about the integrations that exist and the complexity of integration. It's not just Orchestrator, right? And we love Orchestrator, but not everybody uses it. Not everyone's ready, and that's okay. We integrate with business functions and BSSV as well. So and direct database access, and you can view the tables in the repository. All that's there, but also all the nuances of JD Edwards. Media objects, Julian date conversions, UBEs, Z files, named event rules, UDCs. We have access to those. We know what we're talking about from an integration perspective. And tomorrow, I'm actually going to develop an application. You can see it in our upcoming session if you go to our booth, where we'll talk about using UDCs. And we'll do a Julian date conversion as part of the demonstration. So you'll be able to see all this. I will do it live in front of you. But we're also cloud hosted and SOC 2 certified. So if you are publicly traded or you are heavily audited and you need to know more, we have all of this here. And you can spin up new applications in minutes. And all of the DevOps are there. One click, promotion and demotion, source is all available, and identity management is as well. So we have a platform that integrates incredibly well to JD Edwards. And without writing code, you can do web or mobile or native or web services or batch jobs on our cloud without writing a line of code at all. One other piece of what are people doing, with us right now? So I look at it in sort of 4 different ways. There's simplification, integration, consolidation, and abstraction. So to simplify, what do we mean by that? I mean, mobile apps for everything. I was just in a session about Orchestrator and the boundaries, and I won't mention the name of the customer who was speaking, but they said everyone wants a mobile app now. And we can deliver that without you writing code. Web apps that simplify data and forms. And I hate to break it to you, but I think all of you know this. If you don't use JD Edwards every single day, it can be difficult to use. If you're only doing things once every few days, once a week, if you're not tethered to your desk, right, you're going to need an application that is easier to use than just the standard screens, and we can help you deliver that. And we have really strong workflow. How our workflow differentiates is it can run and attach to systems that aren't JD Edwards. So we have very strong workflow that can encompass the entire enterprise, because I guarantee everyone on this call runs JD Edwards and at least something else. And we can touch multiple systems with that. Digitizing paper forms, you cannot get enough of that. It will never, paper forms won't go away, but the more you tackle, the easier it becomes over time. So from an integration perspective, web services, batch jobs, we just announced OCR with Amazon TextRact a few months ago. We're even, as proof of concepts for a couple of companies, using our cloud as an orchestrator pass-through. So they're creating orchestrations and using our cloud, and we're gathering the web service data from one point and sending it to orchestrator and getting the returns back. So as just an added layer of security in using orchestrator. From a consolidation, just consolidating your apps from multiple systems, custom data collection, and we talk about abstracting as getting back to vanilla, pulling out the customizations so you can repurpose them at another time. Some of the POCs we've done in the last quarter, they've gone, they span the entire application stack in JD Edwards. There's a couple others in there I didn't get a chance to put in, but I know we only have 1 minute left, and I want to make sure anyone has a question, I answer it. But one last thing, and this is important. If you want to try this, you can. It's free. We will hook it up to JD Edwards for you. Your instance of JD Edwards, right? We will mentor you if you have a project. We will give you access to training. And you can go live to any application under 10 users, all the way to production. So I don't know if there's any questions yet. I'll move my screen over so I can see. It doesn't look as such. Let me see if there's any Q&A. No, it sounds good. So if you have any questions, you can come by our booth. We'll be there after this, or you can send me an email. That information's on here, or give me a call. Once again, thank you so much for your time. I enjoyed getting a chance to speak to you all. Have a great rest of the day.